Exalted Patreon of this video is Wolfric. Yes, this Wolfric. Wolfric the Wanderer. Thank you for all the support for SFO mod team. May your voyage on the Seafang never ends. Hello everyone, Venus here.
And I am the Loose Noose Moose Goose.
And this is I Don't Know podcast because we don't know a lot of stuff but like to talk about them. And today's topic is the Great Plan, the new update for SFO Grimhammer 2 that will be released soon. But I'm not going to host this podcast. We are changing format a little bit and Luz will tell more.
That's right. Today I get to have the reins and I have all of the power. I'm not going to abuse it, don't worry. What we're doing...
Everyone says that.
I'm going to do my best then. How about that? But the idea is today, Mr. Venris here has been in charge of a lot of stuff for 4 or 5 years now of SFO mod making.
Over 4 years right now.
Going from a helping person to the man in charge, to the head of a team. And I would like to pick his brain on some of the stuff that's coming out in the Great Plan update. So he is going to sit there and I'm going to hit him with my questionnaire. And that was an unintentional rhyme and I'm quite proud of myself. So I don't want to just beat around the bush anymore. Let's go into the questions. The question, just to set the tone, out of all the changes you are making to the Lizardmen in the Great Plan, what is the change that you are happiest with? Is the most fun, that you're proudest of? Anything like that?
So the change that I wanted to do since the release of this game, really, that I hated the most, were the technology tree for Lizardmen. The fact that effects there were very lacking. The fact that it's like a giant block that's barely readable. And I don't like when technologies are working that way. You are clicking one button and you just wait when the whole line just ends. And when we were doing this update, started working on it, technology tree was the first thing. And we looked on the tech tree, the ways to fix it, make it a little bit better. And we really lost on this field. So decided to fully remove the tech tree and rebuild it entirely again. This is the thing that I'm most proud of, really.
I think you made a good decision going from the ground up with the tech tree because I'm looking at the new tech tree right now, and there's a lot more decision making to be made other than, well, I want better skinks. I'm just going to run down this entire line of stuff. And there's more work you can put into getting to other parts of your tech tree that, what am I trying to say here? Certain parts of the tech tree now require resources. One of the new resources that is different between every faction is the alignment that can be spent on some factions. Some factions require you to spend Old One's favor. There are different ways of getting that between every faction, and not every faction uses one or the other. Some use both. How did you decide which faction would be using favor or alignment, or how to even restructure things in the first place?
So we need to make a little disclaimer. What is Old One's Favor? Old One's Favor is a new resource, technology tree only resource for all the Lizardmen. And right now, Lizardmen are... the tech tree is separated into 3 different parts. So those parts also have smaller groups. And first group is a unit group. And in this group, we have smaller groups that have, for example, one group is all the buffs for Kroq-Gars and Skinks. Second is for all Saurus and Temple Guard. Third one is for all small monsters, and the last one for big single entity monsters. And when you are finishing one of such groups, you're unlocking Old One's Favor, and it's starting to generate. And when it's generate, you can spend it on the last tab, the final technology trees, and we have 2 Of those, one is based on magic, and second is based on characters. And I thought that thing like this was never done before. Like the new resources that we were adding, CA was adding, was always a campaign thing or a specific thing for the battles. Let's say things like Taurox with Rampage recently, but it never
Mhm.
was done in a way that it's only working for technology. So Old One's Favor is technology thing that only spend it on technology. It's like a Lizardman technology tree is mechanic on its own right now. It sounds complicated, but when you say it, you understand it.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and some people, I have the concern when I was first looking at it that maybe people don't like the idea of gated off parts of the tech tree behind like other pieces of tech and things like that, or just not being worth the hassle of getting to it, or whatever. But the effects that I'm looking at in the I'm under Mazdamundi's thing right now, and the effects that you get are quite fun, especially ones for the characters. Like one of the ones I'm looking at is this ability of Obstinate Plate that's really high into the character side of the tab, and it's an AOE melee attack debuff on enemies around it, and I think that is really fun. There's another one above it, higher up on the magic side of stuff, talking about Geomantic Healing. It's an army ability, big explosive healing spell, resurrects dead combatants, all sorts of fun stuff like that. So I really enjoy the more bombastic and exciting stuff that the tech tree is adding for the Lizardmen because they've been so plain for so long.
Yeah, but you need to remember that those stuff are very late game, like very
Very,
very
very
late
late
game.
game.
And you need what is cool. You don't need to have any order in taking those. You just need to do those generic groups of technologies. When you finish them, you start getting Old One's Favor, and you don't need to have any order of those other technologies. So it's your
Hmm.
choice what you're getting first, but unlocking this final is always the same. Like,
And most of these new technologies are unlocked by this old one's favor, which you generate by getting other technologies to their final point, I'll call it.
yeah,
But we were talking about this earlier. There's also a new resource added to the Lizardmen called Alignment. Now, Alignment serves as something other than a resource for unlocking technologies, depending on which of the legendary lords you were playing as, right?
yes. Alignment is very complicated stuff because with the trend that CA was doing with the Warhammer 2, many factions received their unique resources. And we thought that Lizardmen do not have such resources, so why not make a global resource for them that have same use for them, one use, this one same use, but also additional uses depending who you are playing.
And let's see if I can get this right. So the alignments, depending on who is using them, I'm going to start with Mazdamundi. I believe you get more alignment from other Slann that you have access to, and you can spend your alignment for star reading to unlock event factions, and you can spend different increments of alignment to get better effects, or you can stockpile it to get a stronger ability on Mazdamundi, the ability to summon in Temple Guard to assist him in battle. Is that still correct?
Yeah, and also buff his ruination of
Which
cities
is
ability.
which is so cool. I love it when there is some dynamic system towards a resource instead of you just want as much as possible and you spend it when you can for better abilities. You have to make the decision of, ooh, this is a tough fight. Am I really going to need my better ruination? Am I going to need more temple guard? Or do I kind of want to buff my entire faction and make a push in different directions? I think that's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Um,
star reading itself, you can summary it. It's like a custom events. Custom, you are making your custom events. So you have a special button. You click on it, pick what type of event you would like to have and how much you want to spend, and it just triggers. So it's working like you are making your own events. That's how I see it.
mhm. Yeah, okay. I'm right there with you on that. Oh, this reminds me. As far you know what, I'll get to that later. I don't want to get too stuck on the various things between the various characters and legendary lords and their alignment and all that. But some of the more exciting ones, in my opinion, I wanted to talk about. I'm a big fan of Nakai the Wanderer. Nakai has a unique thing for his spendage of alignment where he spends it on technologies to improve himself and Kroxagors, right?
Yes, yes. He have
And
his technology tree is the same as it was in vanilla, so we did not rework his technology tree, just added stuff to it.
and to try and segue a little bit between those things, you managed to do something that you've done previously in SFO, where you made Nakai feel more like the Nakai that people wanted when he was introduced to the game. Nakai right now, the Wanderer, yeah, sure, Horde faction makes sense, but the interesting part of Nakai was his ability to just appear wherever Lizardmen needed him. And one of the technologies added through alignment is the ability to upgrade your faction to where if you are fighting defensive battles and Nakai is not nearby to help you out, you can summon Nakai for several minutes to rampage around and tear through the enemies attacking your armies. I think that is really, really cool. And I was wondering if there was anything other like that in SFO, specifically the Great Plan update that you felt was similar to that sort of mechanic, where the character felt more like the character because of a rework you did to them.
Hmm. Yeah, there are some. I think the factions that we received the most love were the Mazdamundi and Kroq-Gar overall. And Kroq-Gar have a thing that in terms of lore, he's from I don't. I will probably butcher the name, but it's like no, Kyoto. His city that he came from was destroyed by chaos,
I feel your pain.
and he have a new mechanic. It's vengeance of this city name, and it's also a new special button in UI, so it's very easy to trigger. When you have a specific amount of alignments, you trigger random missions that force you to attack specific. Kill X number of units, get captives, raise a city. So things that don't force you to go around the world, kill a specific faction. No, things that you are normally doing. And
Mhm.
if you do those, you are getting artifacts of this lost city that have faction-wide bonuses and
Very
very
cool.
strong character bonuses with unique abilities. And other thing that he is getting is able to use alignments to give a special war paint to all his dinosaurs using a scrap mechanic from Greenskins. But I know it's reuse of a mechanic, but I thought that if anyone's going to get that mechanic again, it would be Kroq-Gar, and Kroq-Gar is my favorite Lizardman lord right now.
Is this because of the changes you made to him, or was Kroq-Gar always really close to your heart?
He was always close to my heart, but he was he was not the best. I would say in vanilla, he was
Yeah,
boring to very big extent, as we were talking in the last podcast about stuff that we don't like in Warhammer, and he's one of the best example of that in vanilla. He have literally have nothing to him with him in vanilla right now.
I am. I went to the liberty of, while you were talking about our best boy Kroq-Gar here, to take a gander at everything being done with him. There's a lot more to him now, other than just some upkeep reduction. He
Yeah,
was really
his faction effects were torn apart. By the way, they were all changed. Also, he have a cool new ability that all his dinosaurs are getting an ability that increase charge speed, etc. When their all units are above 90% health.
and it is looking really cool. Um,
So at the start of the battle, you are able to have a massive charge with all those units. This is a similar thing that is with Vampire Coast. That when above a certain munition threshold, you are getting bonuses, and we thought that it would be cool. Other thing is that he gets double experience against chaos for all his units because Kroq-Gar hates chaos. Chaos destroyed his home city. We need to really check the name of it. And the
Hmm.
last thing is that all his characters are starting with not night battles, the lightning strike ability.
Mm-hmm. It says enables lightning strike when reinforcements are present, which I think is a very interesting way to go about that. Oh, to talk more about what you were talking about earlier, I went ahead to look at like the missions and the rewards and type to give him context for them. You can have up to 100 alignment. It took 50 to activate this the vengeance mission that we have here,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like you said, something you would be doing as you go through the gameplay anyway. It is kill 3,000 enemies in battle. You start next to Skaven, not a big deal. And your reward for doing this and getting alignment does take a little while. So it's not like you can just spam these out every couple of turns. But the reward is 5,000 gold. Pretty good. Lizards are broke, usually. The gear that you get, this thing increases your miscast chance by 50, but gives you the potion of full hardiness ability, frenzy, speed plus 10%, and an interesting part, which I think may be kind of a persistent thing with all of them, is melee and missile weapon damage plus 1% for blessed units in every army faction wide. But
Yes.
makes me want to ask, as an aside, really quickly, did you do anything special with the blessed units?
Yes. And only getting fast to Kroq-Gar, there are 16 of those items, so you will have
God.
a lot of 16 different items. Each legendary lord right now specialize in different buffs for the blessed units. Because one of the big spendings for blessed units, and right now, big spending of alignments for Lizardmen are blessed units. Previously, I would say even like 3 years ago, something like that, we added blessings to the blessed units for
Hmm.
Lizardmen, and you were having active ability that was altering unit stats. When you were picking one, all were blocking. And for custom battles, it's a very cool idea, but in campaign, needing to use this system in every battle was quite annoying. So we transformed the system, and one of the spending of alignment is buying those bonuses permanently for the blessed units. So again, using scrap, but I think it's working quite perfectly here. And other thing is that each legendary lord for Lizardmen have different ways of buffing blessed units. Kroq-Gar, as an example, is increasing their damage. Mazdamundi is increasing their magic resistance, etc., etc.
Hmm. Hmm. Something else before we move on from Kroq-Gar land right here is that I'm seeing that he has a skill called the Last Defender at rank 40 that is absolutely ridiculously cool. Not limited to, but my favorite part of it, enable the recruitment of Gargantulazan, the um, super unit, which I think is a Norskin hunting monster
Yeah,
normally.
yeah, it's not a thing that we made of. It's a unit from Norska Hunt missions that were released with Warhammer 2 when Norska was released, not on launch. And overall, since several updates right now in SFO. At the moment when CE started to do final battles, like a quest narrative in DLCs, those
Hmm.
battles, those stuff had mini final rewards. We buffed those final rewards to be more worth it. We can just say it, and moved some of them from Vortex to Mortal Empires. And Lizardmen are a faction that were missing it, so uh, different legendary lords are getting different final campaign rewards depending on what they do. Kroq-Gar, for example, needs to get to level 40 in his campaign, and very big disclaimer: getting experience in SFO is require much more than in vanilla. It's around 40% more. So
Yeah.
especially the level from 39 to 40, it's like 5 times more. So it's like a long run to get the final one, and most legendary lords have their final rewards on the skills, but some have different. Like for example, Oxyotl have it different, Nakai have it different, etc.
Now, you're talking about legendary lords and things being different. And I'm not going to move on stay with Kroq-Gar for the. Although I will comment the SFO team's decision to take Vortex rewards and move them to Mortal Empires is such a just no brain, obvious, good move. I have no idea how that's not somewhere in the base game already. Really,
Yeah, same. We
but
did this first time
oh,
with the Vampire Coast, by the way.
I still remember when I first saw that. I was like, I'm dropping everything. I'm playing a Noctilus campaign. I was so happy. But I don't want to get stuck on Coast. Still want to focus on Lizards. Um, there is not a legendary lord, but a legendary hero that has gotten a whole lot of love in this update that I'm looking at right here. Uh, I don't even know where to begin. Lord Kroak, the beautiful, wonderful Lord Kroak, it just is this amazing, ascendant, crazy thing now. He's not just I cast deliverance anymore. That's not all he's all about anymore. This is nuts. Do you want to expand upon just hell? He's his own topic. I feel the decisions, why you did what you did with Kroak, and yeah, because I don't even know where to start.
Okay, so first of all, I really loved when Kroak was released. There was a little problem for me that he received the three same spells deliverance that were just totally no brainer to use. You're always using the last one, no matter what.
Hmm.
With this update, we made very small changes to them, making them different effects. So only the final one is the big boom as it was. Each of those have a little bit different effects now, and the thing that I hated in Vanilla and don't like it to this day is when Kroak was, because Kroak was the final reward for Lizardmen, and CA decided to make that he will be special mechanic for Gor-Rok. So
Yeah,
Gor-Rok starts with a win button in
you're not
Vanilla
over
right
exaggerating.
now,
Good
and
God.
we thought that Gor-Rok, as his unique stuff, should not get new technologies, new units, things like that. Lord Kroak can be his technology platform, so he have tons and tons of new abilities, skills right now. It's over 50 new skills that works like technology tree with branching upgrades, faction-wide effects, buffs to himself, buff to lords, etc., etc. So
It,
he's Gor-Rok mechanic right now.
and it's a very deep and interesting mechanic. I'm just looking at this skill tree, and it is the stuff that Kroak can do. Kroak has, with this new SFO update, Kroak has went from damn it, I got to deal with Kroak to gee, I really hope Kroak's not somewhere on the same continent as me because he is just insane right now. With what if you get enough levels into Kroak?
Very important thing, you get this special Kroak only when you are playing Gor-Rok. AI won't get him, so sorry. This is only when you are playing Gor-Rok.
You know what? That might be for the best because holy hell, absolutely crazy. I can't wait to actually get into the full release and play around with Super Kroak for a little while because in the lore he is one of my favorite characters. And again, you have done a great service for him,
Thank
as I was talking about with Nakai earlier. Sadly, on the other side of it, I don't think there's much else going on with Gor-Rok himself, is it? His alignment that he gets comes from Kroak,
you. This is
and
also the thing that we were not saying. Each legendary lord don't have different spending for alignment only, but also different gains.
oh yeah, I totally forgot. But matter of fact, let me go ahead and just touch on that really quickly. Going back to alignments for a second, as I remember it, Nakai gets alignment from his pyramids and buildings that he does up.
Yes.
Tehenhauin, obviously, will be getting stuff like that from his sacrifices, big part of his character identity. Um, Gor-Rok gets it from Kroak, and the more alignment you have with Gor-Rok, I do believe those are just buffs that Kroak gets. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, for battles, Kroq-Gar and Tic-Tac-Toe, he gets it from those. And Mazdamundi gets it from the Slann, which makes a lot of sense. I always felt like he was kind of disconnected from being like the big megatoad that of
We will get
lizards.
to Slann also because they are entirely different topic.
Yeah, we'll touch on Slann later, just on alignments. And then Kroq-Gar obviously has his quest generating vengeance mechanic. Nakai and Tehenhauin have it spend it on technologies. Um, start Mazamuni has the starter, and we talked about Tic-Tac-Toe. I think spends it on buildings, if I'm remembering correctly,
Yeah, Tiktaq'to
and then
have
you can
special
use it.
buildings.
You can spend it on buffing up your blessed to be even like being stronger. And you know what I haven't touched on at all is who is currently my favorite lizard man to play as Oxyotl. So whenever Oxyotl hit the game recently, there was already a lot more going on with him than any other lizard man.
Yeah.
Would you like to explain how you added more to the other legendary lords to bring them kind of up to speed with his more advanced stuff he's got going on, while adding or changing enough with Oxyotl to where he didn't feel bland in comparison to the crazy stuff the other lords were getting as well?
So first of all, Oxyotl received a lot from CA, and this one thing also indicates that he did not need as much stuff like Mazdamundi or Kroq-Gar
Mm.
or
Yeah,
Gor-Rok
yeah, yeah.
as we're talking. So his changes are very small. His use of alignment is quite simple. All generic lords received new skills that buffs spawns unique followers
Mhm.
for Oxyotl faction, buffing post-battle loot, small stuff, and all his Sanctum are increasing gain of alignment from all sources. So very simple thing, but we still wanted him to have a use of alignment, same as all the lizardmen.
Mhm. So, something I wanted to ask about Oxy, by the way, this is something I haven't really had enough time to play around with, so correct me if I'm wrong. One of his sanctums that he can get is the Capstone of Tepak, which says and that only one of these can exist, and constructing a new one will break the other one. This also gives alignment gain and ward saves for arming the regions, and it makes it a local region that Oxy can travel to via the visions of the old one's map. Um, what do you feel about? How do you feel about Oxy's just in general his ability to be so hyper mobile over the entirety
Mm,
of
I
Mortal Empires?
really didn't had any problems with Oxyotl. Only thing that we changed from him was removal of upkeep for skinks and replacing it with upkeep reduction for all heroes and immunity to chaos attrition because it's Oxyotl. Besides that, we were talking a lot of about him in our DLC review. So overall, as a faction, he was barely touched with this update. Really,
Okay.
I think
Did
we should not change the things that are just working.
Yeah, that's fair. Um, did you do anything at all to the Visions of the Old Ones mechanic that he has, his quest generator?
Yes, there are changes to some rewards and negative effects if you are not going to take the battle. The whole system is very complicated in terms of tables and scripts, so we were not able to tinker it a lot. But uh, right now, not taking some quests will have bigger penalties also, but also taking some quests will have bigger rewards.
There were a lot of people who were saying that with Oxyotl, they really love his Visions of the Old Ones mechanic, but they really wish that it was more of a you can't do every single one, and you instead had to make choices. Did that at all influence your decision on making the effects more intense, whether you skip them or you do the quest?
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with that because I also had the same problem in vanilla. Some of the battles, rewards, and negatives were just I don't care. why, why should I do it?
Goodness. All right. Fair enough. Fair
This
enough.
was also the biggest point that Mandalore made in his video about the DLC. That the effects of the visions were very lacking.
The mechanic I feel is very solid,
Yeah,
but
mechanic is great.
like you said, like he said, and just yeah, sometimes you just wouldn't want to. It wouldn't be worth bothering with.
Yeah.
Let's see. What is something? You know what? We talked about this very briefly earlier. I would like to move on to one of my other favorite changes and how the big boy toads are just so much more impactful and different than they are in the base game. So I'm just going to pull up Mazdamundi so I can take a look at him and his Slann. Everything you've done with the Slann, what fueled the design decisions you made with them, with you and your team?
So first of all, Slann received a total rework of skills and traits because we felt that in vanilla they are just generic magic lords with different traits,
We got
and
there.
they really didn't had any substance to them, not even any cool unique skills or abilities. Uh, so we really removed everything that they had and made them that their red skill it's the first thing that we did.
Hmm.
Red line of skills is a skill line that buffs units. You're picking a specific skill that buffs specific units. But we decided that why Slann should differentiate their children. They are all children of the old ones. So right now you don't have one red skills line, but two. One is all about attack, and second is all about defense. If you're picking stuff from attack, you're buffing attack of all your units in your army, and you're taking defense one, you're buffing all the defense resistances and stuff like that. Because Slann should buff same way skinks, sorrows, dinosaurs, and etc. This is at least how I see it. Other thing is that we removed many unnecessary skill points, so all their skills are now 1 point, not 2 or 3 like it was in vanilla. You're just
Hmm.
picking the best stuff. And also we added special army abilities to each Slann that, like in vanilla, all of them had banishment. And it was like, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
now each of them have a special army ability depending on their lore. And also, if you're playing Mazdamundi, each of them are getting unique skill line, changing them into semi-legendary lords.
It is. I have him up on screen right now, and whew. Just looking at his skill tree by itself. One of the things I'm looking at and I'm really excited about is I've never liked the force differentiations. Not that's the wrong word. The force divide between the various spells in those lores of magic. Like I hate having to go through playing my vampires and pick this spell, this spell every time just to get to Wind of Death or something like that. As I'm
Oh
looking
yeah,
at the
yeah,
salon,
yeah. I forgot about this. This is also a change that we did. So you
mhm.
can tell about it.
Well, I'm looking at it, and it just, for instance, Mazdamundi himself is starting out with harmonic convergence, and then his spell tree is just open. You can
Yes.
pick what spells you want out of the spell tree. What a novel concept!
Yes, so you don't need to take specific spells right now to unlock powerful skills spells for Slann. You get all of them ASAP as level 1 because all Slann are starting with their first point in spells unlocked, and all the old spell buffs like miscast reduction, etc., are in their own different tree also. So you can pick each of those when you want without any order right now because those are Slann.
Yeah, it always felt pretty terrible to. I'm going to get my salon the like a race of the best mages on the entire world. He can cast Fireball.
Yeah. We also made that very cool thing that is, we had an ability for quite some time in SFO. It was the bolt of the old ones. So all Slann have the ability to have like a missile that have very good range and very good damage. But right now, each of your Slann, you can pick a skill that replace it with a new ability that buffs your unit. So you can have Slann very focused on defending stuff, or being, protector of this world, or being just a wrecking ball.
Yeah, and it is you do have to replace that fancy bolt, in case that was not super clear. Something else I'm noticing for the first time as well. You when you get one of these Slann, is it vanilla that these Slann are immortal when you get them?
No,
I did not think so. So now when you
I don't
spend,
remember really. I don't remember.
I don't
I know
think it
that I
is.
I not added the skill to be there, but I don't think they are immortal in Vanilla. Don't take pitchfork if I'm wrong on that.
No fix for. Oh, so anyway, to alleviate some concerns people might have had from before, as that red line being changed around and stuff like that, you do not lose rally. Rally just gets moved into a different Slann skill tree. By the way,
Again, unlocked ASAP. You can just pick it.
yeah,
Slann is all about choices. ASAP, you don't need to level up stuff with them to get everything. And also, I think that people may concern that you are only going to do Slann anymore right now. We made that you can make a Slann only one each 40 turns right now, not 10 turns like in vanilla.
but they are
So
worth it.
yeah, they are worth it. They are very expensive also, and they're also linked to the Geomantic Web that Luz will tell us more.
The link with the Geomantic Web. Give me 2 seconds to get out of this menu. I've just been gawking at all the stuff that is on the Slann here. The
Because I know this changelog by heart because I wrote it, and you are discovering some stuff right now.
Yeah,
Even that you played it even before this DLC because Lizardmen were ready before the DLC.
I was remembering I was streamed it a little bit.
Yeah,
It was a really
we
happy,
didn't
fun
have
time.
text back then, but yeah,
That's fine.
they didn't change much since the DLC was released.
Mm, Um, so again, Slann only one every 40 turns. They are absolutely worth it. They are crazy just to look at them. And we have some changes between them and the Geomantic Web. I've seen it's like several things interacting with the Geomantic Web. There's actually a tech I saw that like just jumps it up to be, as I understand it, baseline starting at 3.
Yeah, this is a thing that we took from Oxyotl campaign, the idea that CA had. So not only Oxyotl, but all Lizardmen, I believe this is a very late game. Make that all Geomantic Webs are starting on level 3.
Which is great because
So it
the
will
Geom,
help with new provinces, but overall, it's a very late game upgrade.
which it's fine because even my personal opinion, even if you stick it early in the game, the Geomantic Web is such a not thing usually that it's I don't even know if I'd be able to tell the difference right away. I think also that I don't know if this is specific to a Mazdamundi thing or if it is a just a Slann thing. That the Geomantic Web will start to generate alignment when it
This
gets
is
to a
this
higher
is the
level.
thing that all Lizardmen have, because you are getting
Oh,
alignment from Geomantic Web and generic missions for all Lizardmen, and in specific way depending on the legendary lord.
I didn't even know. I didn't like pick up on the fact that it was also just something you would get from the Geomantic Web on everybody. For some reason, I thought that was just a Slann thing. The Slann do, by the way, passively just generate alignment for Mazdamundi,
Yeah.
incentivizing you even more to get them specifically with our big Toad Boy. And also, just while we're finishing up on the Slann, I really appreciate the 40 turn requirement, not just because of the power that they have, but also because they're supposed to be kind of rare and dying out even more than other lizards. So seeing them like peppering Lustria would be, it would irk me. I guess is a
It's
thing.
like Archmages for high elves right now.
God, they're just giving that diploma out. I swear.
We had. I remember when we did the Archlich Priest from the Tomb Kings and had the decision with do 4 different lords or
Hmm.
make one lord that always starting with 3 skill point, and this skill point you click and you unlock a specific lore of magic, and that's how we did. And you don't have Arch Lich Priest spam in mod
Which thing?
like you have with mages. I don't know how many there are, like 8, 8 different lords.
I, yeah, it would have to be right. God.
Yeah, so 8 mages against 2 generic lords. Cool. So prince and princess.
God. All right. Let's
I
see.
never see princess in vanilla
I don't think I've ever.
in this game overall.
I don't think I'd ever recall picking a princess over like a mage or a caster. That might just be a personal preference. I'm not going to harp on that. Whatever. Who have we not talked about in depth? I don't think.
I will just tell about Geomantic Web because we did not finish this
Oh, sorry.
thing.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Big change to Geomantic Web is besides province effects that it had before,
Hmm.
all edicts there have small faction-wide bonuses and faction-wide bonuses for Slann. So picking different Geomantic Webs edicts is really at least I hope would be a choice for the players. So they will want to go full on war and they will be buffing all the let's say taking the edict for damage for Slann and damage for units, etc. And this is also my big gimmick with vanilla, how useless Geomantic Web is is there. I hope that CA won't abandon Lizardmen and they will get something still in Warhammer 3 or maybe in Warhammer 2 with some secret update or something like that.
God, one can only hope. I mean, it's like you said in the base game. It's unless you are of like the mindset of like being a collector or a completionist, and you just have to have the Geomantic Web. It just felt like something you get from naturally playing the games. Like, oh, I got this, and it just happened to buff up my web. That's neat. Anyway, I have already forgotten about it by the end of the sentence.
Yeah.
But now, at this point, there is a lot more incentive to actually go out and increase your Geomantic Web for the sake of buffing up your Slann. And I think the first time I've ever cared about what like the different types of commandments for helping out our Slann boys, like cooldown reductions on their
Yes.
bolts, which I think is really cool, or
It
the
means the
buffing
plan worked.
the physical resistance you can get to your Slann, the ability to like increase their weapon damage if you're of that sort of mind. You care. You was like, oh, I would normally only stick this on public order and forget about it. But maybe I want to have my Slann just spam out bolts all day or make them invincible with, stacking up physical resistances. I think that's really neat.
It's
I
still very hard to build up because those bonuses are very small, but
mm,
they are better for a grand scheme of things.
well, that actually kind of lends itself to making you want to play with the web. Where it's like, oh, if you're the type of person who likes having their lords being invincible, it's like, oh, that +5 physical resistance looking kind of alluring. I care about specifically buffing up the plan so I can get more of those level 5 edicts. It makes you want to interact with the mechanic more, which I've never cared about. Just full
I never
transparency.
never did that. Also, yeah, we were talking that previously, but I think that Vanilla Lizardmen are right now in the worst spot in terms of factions in the game.
Agreed. Let's move on to I don't know Tehenhauin. What about our boy Tehenhauin? Obviously, his alignment generation is based off stuff to do with his sacrifice mechanic. But between alignment and like slave sacrifices, and then you go into the tech tree and you have Old One's Favor, did it ever felt like when you were designing Tehenhauin, it's like, oh, that's okay, that's enough. He has enough going on.
Yeah, yeah. Tehenhauin I made in like one day, really, with this update with the team because he received a huge rework on his release. We all know that Tehenhauin on paper is great. but he just doesn't work.
And it's sad.
And overall, the way we changed him, we wanted him to make some things more relevant. So things that is more relevant is that the fact that his ROR unlocking sacrifices that we left because we like them. I'm a person that likes him, like them, and they are buffing your alignment game and also sacrifices game. So it's also a little nitpick, but still something good. And besides that, he only had some really small readjustments here. This is the same situation as was with Oxyotl. Don't add more stuff because those stuff are not needed.
Yeah, it eventually it goes from a point to where because I encountered this a lot in my own unchecked modding sprees whenever I wait for SFO to update, where I'll get like 200 mods. And eventually, all that neat stuff that you thought was super cool ends up making everything feel crazy, bloated, and disorganized. And it just
Yeah, yeah.
becomes just too much, I feel.
Yeah, the bloat is the thing that we fall to the victim of SFO, and also I totally agree with people saying that. And with this update, for example, we are removing some of the abilities that were not needed. We changing some active abilities into passives. We removed a lot of skills that were not needed, lowered the levels needed, smaller things. Because when you're just wanting something to be cool and you like it, you want to give more and more and more things, and there's always a moment that you need to stop. You just need to stop. And I still think that uh, if we had bigger team, bigger resources, we could really fix more stuff. But as this is a mod that was not made in one day, it was made in 4 years. Right now, it's hard to get back to some stuff and fix them. So even that we know that some things in mod can be bloated, we are not able to do a lot of things with them without breaking the mod or making that won't be able to play it for several months.
That actually reminds me of like on a meta level. Do you think there are some things that you would have done 4 years ago for the Lizardmen that you have learned over 4 years that you're just like, no, that would be a terrible idea? Do you feel like your style of how you approach changes has changed over your experience gathered in running SFO?
Yeah. The biggest change I think over the years is that when we're starting, we had much less mechanics, and most of the mechanics had advantages and disadvantages with the effects, etc. But as things were added by Warhammer 2 as a game, stuff added by CA, stuff added by us,
Mm-hmm.
there were too many stuff that had negatives and positives, and the negatives were stacking too much. You know what I mean? And over time, we removed most of the negatives and made those positives weaker. So more stuff are relevant, same as before, but you don't get those penalties anymore. This is the thing that I still like in games. I still like that, let's say, economy buildings are lowering public order, etc. But I agree that we went too far with some of those. And Lizardmen are such an example because each of their building had a technology research rate negative effect on them.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and to counter it, all the technology all the effects had increased technology rate, research rate. Very hard words.
It's
And on the grand scheme of things, it was looking cool on paper, but overall, it was doing nothing really, because
mhm.
in the end, it was the same. It's different if you're doing with public order or grow, because uh, not having military buildings, let's say for empire, makes your province grow much faster because you don't spend it on soldiers, etc. But with technology tree, it was just not working, so we removed it. Another example is that we moved units for the Lizardmen to less buildings right now. So all the big offensive dinos are in one, defensive dinos in second, etc. So we wanted to make those stuff a little bit more uh, logical, I would say.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm of the same mind. Obviously, I play the mod. I love that not everything is just the right choice. Obviously, I do this. I love when there is some give and take. Like, let me find a really good example. Like, here's a one that comes up, and I think about this a lot whenever I'm playing, is that the walls in SFO actually take away your tax rate in that local province. And if you build 3 walls in every province, that's overall a negative 15 to your taxes, which is significant. And that's a decision you have to make. It's like, do I even, I throw a wall up everywhere, but I'm so far away from enemies to kind of tear them down and actually get enough money for more armies, that sort of thing. And I love that degree of decision making
Yeah,
that can come from stuff in the mod.
walls are like a little nitpick, but I really like this example, as you said, because in vanilla, building walls is just no-brainer. You just build them everywhere.
Yeah.
And we wanted to make making garrison a province and not economy province a choice.
And I think that is great. I love anything that makes you think more instead of just pressing the buttons.
Yeah.
Speaking of pressing buttons, there's another legendary lore we haven't really touched on. If I remember correctly, you were not the biggest fan of this one. One Mr. Tic-Tac-Toe and his special flying friend.
Yes, it's my number one most hated legendary lord in this game right now. Doing him was a real pain, but I think I did the best I could.
I'm looking at him right now, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. So what he has is similar to Kroq-Gar and similar to Mazdamundi on his UI. He has an uncover your ears, Mister. This is your fault.
Yeah, best thing is that I have, and I'm still covering. I still hear you.
I didn't even miss it. God.
Yeah,
Anyway,
people that are listening to us, I just covered my ears and try to not listen.
God. Anyway, he has a new button on his UI where his thing, Kroq-Gar, gets these special items and quests. Mazdamundi has these dilemmas he has to think of as like the head Slann man. Tic-Tac-Toe has ancient techniques of defeating the enemies of the Lizardmen. It costs a chunky amount of alignment, 75 out of 100, 100 being your max. But you gain access to army abilities and faction abilities that last for a set amount of time.
They are permanent. This is important.
No. You're right.
They are
They
permanent.
are permanent. Oh, sexy.
You're paying for switching them.
I missed that, and they're really good. Like campaign line of sight up 50, movement speed for all armies is up 25%, ambush chance plus 25%, and then each one of them also gives an army ability that is map wide and is really strong. Like this one, same one, looking at Mastery of Stealth, map wide. All of your units get extra speed, extra acceleration, and they get stalk. So suddenly, super invisible army. Oxyotl, eat your heart out. There's another one, Master of Ripperdactyls. Chance of getting magic items up.
Ripperdactyls.
Yeah, it makes you spawn a unit of Ripperdactyls. Pretty good Ripperdactyl riders, excuse me. It's really strong. You get extra money, extra stealing of items, less attrition. These are really cool. And I think by upgrading Mr. Tic-Tac-Toe himself up to his level 40, you get extra uses of those army abilities in all armies, which is really cool. I love these level 40 abilities. I will play an entire campaign just to get to play with those. I'm telling you that right now.
Each legendary lord in the game right now, only Vampire Counts doesn't have it. Only Vampire Counts doesn't have the final rewards. All other factions have final rewards in SFO. Like factions, not races, factions. And each of those factions have different ones.
Makes me want to cry. It's so cool. Let's see. Did we do anything different?
You forgot about a very important thing with Tiktaq'to. He have own nuke ability.
He has his own nuke ability. Let me hold on 2 seconds. This might be news to me. He's got his drop sphere.
Drop sphere of Tepak upgraded. He have it in vanilla. Just upgrades it, but right now it's upgraded into mini nuke.
Oh my god. Okay. For people that are aware of the numbers, it's a drop thing, kind of like the other pterodactyl riders. Drops a projectile dealing 125 damage, 25 armor piercing, and 100 damage and 25 armor piercing explosion within 16 meters. Fire damage. Enemies hit are also slowed for 30 seconds, and it comes with a debuff into every enemy army in the area where they get less speed and less range, which is crazy. Get 2 nukes. 2. That's so cool. God, I never wanted to play tic-tac-toe before, but kind of. Did you change his right at all? His go fast stance?
No, no, no. It
No.
it, it was changed on the release of him, and we did not touch it right now.
Okay. Okay. That is so fun. God. All right. Let me head back one more time to the main menu, see if there's anything else that I'm missing that I want to talk about with our special boys here. Let me pull that back up. I need more monitors. Never enough. God. Well, there's a lot more I want to go to. I think, hell, Tic-Tac-Toe has a special, unique unit too, doesn't he? I forgot
Yes.
to talk about that. The Ancient Ripperdactyl, big single entity, anti-large unit. Reminds me of a really, really old bad movie that I super love, but I don't want to get into that.
That was weird.
It's a movie about a big giant pterodactyl condor monster. We could talk about bad movies on the podcast some other time if you want to.
Bad Movies podcast.
I would love that, actually. Troll 2. I would just do a whole segment on that. But let's see. Anything else really big about that? Of course, we have changes to the new units that have come out. The Troglodon has got a change where Rampage has been replaced with something called Primal Instinct. And like the Coatl has had several things changed about it to make it be a little less what's a nice way of putting it?
Less
Less
shitty.
bad. That's okay. Up to and including like just unit changes like mass and rotation speed to having brand new abilities. Even the Regiment of Renown Coatl has been replaced its Shield of Thorns with the Coming Thunder, a new SFO ability where it throws out small thunderstorms all around it in melee. Super cool, by the way. And I think, let me see if there's anything else. I mean, I could talk more and more about the update itself because we haven't touched on like the other various changes coming. But I think that's about all I wanted to ask about the Lizardmen. I think, and getting away from like the changes in the mod itself, Mr. Venris yourself, you've spent a long time working on this. It shows
Several
in.
months, really.
Oh, no, I mean, what I'm talking about is SFO in general. You've spent so much time and so much effort, so much passion has went into this. Anyone who is like a fan of the series can really tell that someone who cares about the setting is in charge of the SFO mod. And one, I wanted to thank you because I don't think this series could have held my attention this long without SFO.
Mm,
And you and your people have done a great job.
don't say that. This is a
Uh,
great game on itself.
it is a great game on its own, but the level of complexity and care and just taking a moment to embrace like the cool stuff at level 40, like nukes for tic-tac-toe, is just really, really cool and wonderful. And I would like to ask you a final question.
Okay.
In the years that you have been working on SFO, what has been the the most resounding and wonderful change that has been brought about by your decision to like one day, hey, I would like to work on this mod? What has been the biggest life changing thing about it?
It is a thing that really happened several times, and it's still happening with this update, but answering it would be a huge spoiler.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there are some secret stuff that will be released with this update that are not in changelog, and I think that many people will be quite hype on it when they see it.
Well, I'm kind of jealous because I don't even think I know about it.
No, you don't. No,
Oh,
you
maybe
don't.
we can do a follow up on that and your surprises that you love to throw into your updates.
Yeah, yeah.
But this is
Before we finish everything that we were talking about, you will have a changelog for the update in the description. By the way,
and please go check it out because there are some things that we just did not have enough time to go over right here, and there's other stuff in the description that it has nothing to do with lizards. If you have another favorite faction, I know several of my Beastmen boys represent are probably going to be watching the video as well, and there's like some stuff for about what's coming up with the Beastie Boys and the changelog.
yeah. If you will like this video, then we will go and do the same with the Beastmen and maybe other factions that get some love, like dwarves, with this update. And just remember, we need to make some self advertisement. You can listen us on Anchor FM, and Anchor FM have many different sites like Spotify, RRS, Radio Republic, Pocket Casts, Google Podcast, and Breaker. So you don't need to look on us if you don't like our faces. You can just listen to us on those stuff, and also follow us on our media. One of those media is
My Twitch that I have, Loose News Minus Goose over there. I also have a YouTube channel. If you want to come check out my old videos there, it is on hiatus. I'm planning to get back to it at some point. Life is just real fast right now. I haven't had time.
yeah. Yeah, and also we recently made an SFO Patreon rework, so some of the rewards are including podcasts right now. So Exalted Patreon that was mentioned on the beginning of this video, Wolfric, is also one of those people that are supporting SFO, and his reward was being exalted for this video. On the previous video, it was Crazy Ivan. And in the special podcast, we will be also answering only Patreon's questions soon, probably after this update when we will have time to record such stuff.
Yeah. I'm actually looking forward to the Patreon questions quite a lot. Fingers
The
crossed.
Patreon questions are always the hardest, I would need to say. I'm making like seasonal Q&As with Patreons, and those questions are very hard.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, yeah. I hope that Luz was a good host for this podcast, as he was a good host for me on this podcast. My English is very bad today, really. It's hot, I'm tired, and I need to work on update more.
All right. With that said, thank you so much for answering all these questions. You did a great job with it, and good luck with the rest of the update. I don't think I can talk about beta stuff, but
Yeah, you can.
okay. Well, there should be a this
When this
weekend.
podcast is released, it will be public. The beta for it will be like a final beta for this update with all the factions fully working. It doesn't mean that there are no bugs, things like that. So
It's beta for a reason. Being
yeah, it's
sweet.
beta for reason because the amount of changes that we had to do, if you look on the changelog, are insane. Changelog have 11 pages right now. The amount of stuff that we had to remove from the Beastman, for example, it just makes me cry.
It makes me cry too.
Yeah.
But
So yeah,
whatever. For the best. It's for the best. I'm okay.
yeah, it's for the
Promise.
best. Okay. So let's make a little way for for people that like to look on us.
Okay. Give him the old finger guns. How about that? Take care, everybody.
So yeah.